my god, this is gonna be so Blooper madness, so Blooper madness I have ever saw in my entire life. Super duper big ultra extreme major cut again again. This time we made 70 bloopers. You know what? If I'm not gonna read any take, you might know what's gonna happen next.
But I'm gonna read all those bloopers if it's the last time, if I ever think I do. So, here we go.
First of all, we made a color blooper. Secondly, we made a background color blooper. Third of all, we made a font blooper. Fourth of all, we made a font blooper on a TVO text. Fifth of all, we made a color blooper on a TVO text. Sixth of all, we made a glitchy blooper. Seventh of all, a different letter has been added. Eighth of all, a different number has been added. Ninth of all, a Russian letter has been added. 10th of all, a Coptic letter has been added. 11th of all, there's a character design next to the TVO text. 12th of all, we made a fan-made language blooper. 13th of all, a fan-made Russian letter has been added. 14th of all, a Japanese letter has been added. 15th of all, we have a different letter and still floating. 16th of all, we have a fan-made letter and still floating. 17th of all, we have a different number and still floating. 18th of all, we have a fan-made Russian letter and still floating. 19th of all, we have a Coptic letter and still floating. 20th of all, we have a Japanese letter and still floating. 21st of all, we made a style blooper. 22nd of all, we have a Lithuanian letter and still floating. 23rd of all, the Lithuanian letter has been added. 24th of all, this time we have a fan-made number. 25th of all, a character design has been added. 26th of all, we have a character design and still floating. 27th of all, we have a different letter in the TVO text. 28th of all, a different symbol has been added. 29th of all, we have a different symbol and still floating. 30th of all,
a Greek letter has been added. 31st of all,
a fan-made number has been added.
32nd of all, someone else is at the studio. In fact, the spray bottle is still here. 33rd of all, we have an image here. 34th of all, we have 2 Greek letters. One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 35th of all, a different YouTuber
has been added.
36th of all, this time we have 2 different YouTubers. One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 37th of all, we have
3
logos this time.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 38th of all, this time we have
3
Armenian letters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 39th of all, we have
3
Ukrainian letters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 40th of all, this time we have
3
Spanish letters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 41st of all, this time we have
3
Arabic letters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 42nd of all, this time we have
3
Paper Puppet Take Two characters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 43rd of all, we have
3
Amharic letters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 44th of all, we have
A.
2 different symbols.
Then it's overflat.
45th of all, we have
3
Hebrew letters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 46th of all, this time we have
3
Chinese letters.
One of them has been added.
One of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 47th of all, we meet another software blooper. 48th of all, we have another text that says something. 49th of all, we have
3,
Vietnamese letters. One of them has been added, one of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 50th of all, the bees are back! 51st of all, we have
3,
Korean letters. One of them has been added, one of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 52nd of all, we have 3 fan-made Greek letters. One of them has been added, one of them is still floating, and the other is overflated. 53rd of all,
a Calanese letter has been added.
54th of all,
A Takanesa letter has been added. 55th of all,
we have 3 fan-made Russian letters. One of them is still floating, one of them has been added, and the other is overflated. 56th of all, we meet another effect blooper. 57th of all,
a fan-made Takanesa letter has been added.
58th of all,
We have a Takanesa letter then it's.
overflated. 59th of all,
We have a Takanesa letter then it's still floating.
60th of all,
We have another TV rating. 61st of all, the ABC logo is here again. 62nd of all, the NBC logo is here again. 63rd of all, the CBS logo is here again. 64th of all, the PBS logo is here again. 65th of all, the Pixar logo is here again. 66th of all, the Walt Disney logo is here again. 67th of all, the Universal logo is here again. 68th of all, the 20th Century Fox logo is here again. 69th of all, the Nick Jr. logo is here again.
and 70th of all, we made a crazy blooper for the first time ever.
This time we made 70 bloopers at once!
3, 2, 1.